to spend like 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds per slide, so we have to go fast. Some advice. We need to stay open to new things. I hope to be provocative. We should try to think in different ways. I'm super glad that people bring some point of view yesterday, like thinking in the technical insights and bringing it to life and people, because we are going to build on top of that. So it's probably non-linear, so I'm going to flank this subject from every possible angle you can think of, and probably full of wrong advice too. So I'm counting with your critical thinking, like Peter yesterday said, to reach your own insights, and please share with me because I'm super curious. Hopefully this sparks something that is non-nonsensical and just a conversation starter. I want to hear more about startups that do things with small talk because it's, bleep us. Okay, so what are we going to cover? Why a startup? What's a startup? Where small talk could fit in all this, and the challenges and opportunities that these things that are happening and this information that I'm bringing here could bring to us, some tools and some modest suggestions. So, okay, hi, who actually are we? I want to know, who here is teachers, for example? Raise your hand. Cool. So, who is engineers? Great. Designers? Oh my God, that's good. And entrepreneurs?
I want to pull the loop button.
Okay, so everybody relax. It's not a competition, okay? We have our own kind of crazy. It's good. We are going to cover that a little more. So there are who is wanting to or flirting a little at least with the idea of startups ideas, like maybe I could make this experience, or maybe I run this experiment, perhaps it's worth to get an investor there and make it grow. Who? Okay, I hope to make you more curious, and it's tough. Okay, okay. So why a startup? Universe closed. The economy is screwed. So and the government never helps really. So why a startup in that such environment that doesn't help? Well, because it's the only way. Innovation and creativity are going to emerge from the needs of people, and the opportunities are going to be found even forced by the needs. Okay, so. Let's continue. You might have intrinsic motivators, diverse motivators. These are the most primitive, basic ones: usual suspect, money, power, fame. Some of you, I personally, that's useful, but it's not in itself. It's like a self-serving thing that doesn't really make people vibrate too much. But, well, certain people does, actually. But there are other motivators, too, also known as sensible capitalism or inclusive capitalism, like financial freedom, put an end on the universe, make your own influence, your part of your purpose. You give a purpose to that. And, for example, there are investors that they invest in a startup not because they know they are going to make a lot of money on something, but because they care about that industry being disrupted like this, because they are tired of seeing some kind of problem, that it gets like a vice, like something they consider that this shouldn't happen anymore in our society. We need to move forward. And they want to disrupt that. And maybe it's non-profitable, or maybe they get even, but it's worth for them. So it's the right kind of crazy. Now here we come to this part, right? So we need some kind of crazy, because the entrepreneur needs to be a little out of reality, needs to be one step in the future that yet doesn't exist. So we need to use this unrealistic thing, but we need the right kind. So it's Tony Stark kind versus totally cuckoo. So the different, or the parameter you have to differentiate that, to use your discern into which is which, where I'm pointing what, to the cuckoo, I'm being cuckoo, or I'm being Tony Stark. So it's results. What response, how the universe is resonating with you about how people is responding. So why Google Analytics is so important, or other tools of analytics are so important? Because it's a measure of results. It's a measure of how people is paying attention of what you did. It's very important that did is do in past. It's because if you don't do anything, results doesn't appear. It's basic, but think about that. So you have a couple of questions to reflect. Because I see there are some projects that are super cool, but I see obvious blocks on, for example, Agile's first principle, like value, real. Okay, are we going to value one space beyond the bracket, or are we going to value one commit that solved an issue that may make some other small talker move a project for a client real forward that week? So we have to think on that. We should not block. That's what I mean. So where do the ideas for startup come? Of course, problems. And the good news is that there is no shortage of problems. We have lots of problems. So the entrepreneur is, okay, where there is a problem that is going to match with a really good idea. And now we are going to ask that question and see how I identify what's a really good idea on this movement. And one way is, first, don't emotionally attach to ideas, okay, or to problems. Okay, that's a hard one, because sometimes it's intrinsic motivation. I don't want to see this problem anymore, and I want to do something about that. And that's good. But you have to have many ideas on what execution, what version of the solution is going to be the really good. And quantity leads to quality. So you have to make many, many experiments to see which ones are the really good ones. Andres yesterday talked about making it not deep, but bread, right? So we are going to use that a lot. And having many are related to that, because you have to think in what experiments are worth inventing to measure after the results. So observe the replicant vector of that machinery you invented. I hope people react to that. And one idea is, okay, it's good enough. You can make 1,000 people happier about something. That's a good thing. Better than that is better. And less than that is, okay, it's good, but maybe it's not great. And let's move forward. See a little more what is a startup and why that is important. Okay, here you have some kind of life cycle. You can take a look at that later. Seed money, angel, and it grows and exit in IPO or whatever. Don't pay too much attention to that. It's more important that the movement happens, because of that, there is people eager to help you if you have something that has chances to go there, that are going to help you, authentically help you, like going side by side. So what is a startup? It's angel money, it's VC money, it's new hardware being invented, is corporate innovation, good one, like really well performed, implemented. It's the proverbial garage, it's all of that. Well, in a way it is, depending on the information and the definition you get. But the important thing is, or the definition I like, is the one from Steve Blank. If you can study everything you can find about this guy, and you can think of a startup of nothing more than experiment. So a couple of dudes in discovery mode, you can consider that a startup. Don't worry about too much of the formal definitions. You have to worry a little more on making results that have meaning and make sense for some kind of people, tribe you want to do something about, and they are resonating with that. You will find thousands of examples on that. One I like, and you can Google about that and find information and good stories on that, is Derek Sivers, the founder of CD Baby. He has really good stories and tell many of the steps he has to do from zero to really moving people, calming people that, oh, you're doing that, let me know more, and then doing business. So what Steve Blanks also brings to us is that he found out after observing and teaching business in Stanford and observing hundreds of startups, is that actually we entered in an era where technology is not a problem anymore. Before, it was a problem. We didn't have technology to do certain things. But now, that is kind of not happening anymore, or not as before, because it's so easy to solve a problem. Oh, NPM install, I have a backend and 2 terminal commands, and oh my gosh, that changes the economy of the game of solving problems. So we have to pay attention to that. So let's be friends of the terminal, for example, in a way. By the way, no internet without Unix, and no internet without terminal, and no Unix without terminal. So the terminal has an usability so cool for engineers that thing happens because of that, because it's low resistance for them to get solved real problems. Then it works. It changes the game for them, and everybody else goes up. But now we need to make more usable tools in different layers for different types of people. So we can do that with creativity and tools. We need to understand that this is Sam Altman from Y Combinators, right? If you find everything about Paul Graham, it's worth reading. And he said the natural state of a startup is to die. So because if you remember, it's an experiment, makes sense. An experiment is something you either discard most of them or make a paper. Okay, we validated this, replicate. So it's an experiment. Most startups need multiple miracles in the early days to escape this destiny. So the default is to it's done. So he was asking what is in the Silicon Valley that helps them. Okay, but now we are going to ask world, right? What can we take from the lessons that are, or the insights that are learned there that we can replicate? Many no, but some maybe yes. So I'm curious about that. And what it is, and it's the value of the network. We are not talking internet, we're talking social, higher primate network, people, culture. So let's go. So if technology is not a problem anymore, what is the problem? The problem is acquiring customers, or if you are in a non-profit entrepreneurship endeavor, it's movement. So acquiring meaning to attract followers. So if you have meaning and you empower people about something, they will find their meaning resonating with yours and do things in some kind of direction, right? Because it makes sense for all. So you have to link that, find that pattern first, and okay, I want to be inspired by that, because if I make that structure, objects are going to send message there. Before that, something is firewalled, right? So that could create even a market. Think of the iPhone, for example. Good experiments, remember, it's like 1,000 people. So where Smalltalk fits into this, right? So I feel lost, but not as small talker, as whatever talker. Give me any energy, any technology, and I feel the same lost, the same kind of lost. So I bring this to make us reflect. So I asked several people, and I'm very curious about what you will tell me about that. I actually asked, like, okay, we use this with this micro hardware new, and we can hack it better than with assembler, for example. So some questions to make a reality check. how are we connecting one to other? Okay, I'm asking questions. Maybe it's because it makes teams remarkably productive. That was super interesting and advantageous in the 90s, for example. Now, I'm not so sure. I actually, JavaScript is very good, but maybe we can do something that in a couple of frameworks catches up and keep us to the next generation again kicking us. So I'm curious about that. So we need actually, for example, how friendly are to insanely great design? Why I'm asking this question? Because, okay, we are friends with the terminal, but then that empowers the tribe of engineers. But what happens with other tribes? The other one that we want to resonate with our products. Oh, turns out we need user experience designers that are insanely good. Because look at Slack. It's insane how the thing grew. Impressive. And it's a chat system, right? But what has remarkable? The engineering? No. Nothing about engineering is remarkable in it. But in user experience, it's pretty good. So we need to make some kind of friends there. Okay, let's talk about challenges and opportunities. So who is the the challenge we are going to face, and what opportunities do we have? How are we going to make this guy do cooler things that he's doing right now? So we need to help that guy. So where does Smalltalk comes into this? Let's look history. I'm super happy that Ellen yesterday started looking back in history, because Smalltalk is so influential for the good that created new markets. But at the same time, other people capitalize that more than, oh my God, that doesn't add up. Something is disconnected there. I don't want that. I want to reconnect. This is a phrase my wife Natalia selected that I find kind of inspiring. So it's not about being defensive. It's about being curious and trying to, okay, let's take a look. What is raining now? Mobile phones. Mobile phones are raining. Yeah, Ellen told us this, and everybody knows that. Also, JSON, everybody. RESTful APIs has, thank God, get rid of XML and embrace JSON, and JavaScript libraries. So any problem you can think of, 20 libraries of that. So we need to somehow capitalize on that. Also single-page applications, right? Friendly for mobile. This could also give us a little insight or make us think. It's a couple of slides I found from Anderson Horowitz. It's a presentation they made that it says mobile is eating the world because the numbers are so big, and Ellen bring that too. So here you see 2014 gray people online, orange smartphones. 2020 equals, so everybody online on that. So let's go. Global SMS, 7.5 trillion messages a year, and WhatsApp 7.2, but train 30 engineers. So I wanted you to see the change in the game there. Okay, that already happened. It's their opportunity. It's late for us to go that opportunity, but we need to think on the inventing the future. What is the inventing the future that we are closer to make happen? So this is cost, okay? Before, if you are not friends of the owner of the factory, you don't have any chance. That game also changed. Only today, with 10 guys and 1 million, you can make a super game changer. But that is not even today. That's like in the past 2. Now it's one guy can make something that spreads, and it makes it with so low cost that it's It's empowering. So let's move. Children on mobile. So we are using a lot email. Kids not so much. So it's more on that. Yeah, more of the same. This is, by the way, an iPhone, and this is Smalltalk. And here it's opening a server in this port, and this is the Mac being served by the server on this iPhone with actually C, the C Objective-C server. So it's not like it's a web application on the iPhone, right? It's native. So how these changes happen in technology and time, this is interesting to see in books. This is the 1800. And here it's, for example, this is the First World War, and here is the end of the Second. So the books talking about technology, railways in books. So how much people was writing about the impact of the railway and how that is going to change the economy and power people and commerce. So the kind of pattern we should feel familiar at this point, but with another technology that has nothing to do with our taste for technology. So our previous life, if you want it. So there, in the future, was another technology that created disruption, which was steel. People talking about steel in books moved to the 50s here, and then decay. All right. So it's because people pays attention to different things, get a commercial activity, change their worlds, make something that before was impossible the new normal, and then move forward to the next thing that is interesting for them. And then we are going to see computerization being taught in books. So 1960s, the 70s. So take a look at the spike, right? The Apple II, the PC. The 90s, it's the new normal. 2000 is the new normal. And software. This worries me a little, but not too much, because it's already decaying. The software, wait a minute. Okay, so let's get us inspired, because the timeline ends there, right? So what's the future? We reach the today's. So why I'm showing this? Because Hollywood has good designers. Sorry, I use that. So Elysium, this is a game, but 2 games actually, but they are all talking transhumanism basically. If you don't know the term, Google it. It's kind of a movement that says, okay, people can buy enhancements and do more than they will. It's very controversial. I have to warn you. I'm not. I have mixed feelings for that. For someone impaired, it's super cool, but other things has ethical concerns. And this is kind of today, if you have a lot of money in terms of interface, right? It's a big touch. It's a big iPad. Right? It's a big touch screen. Very well designed, very good interface. And then there is Matrix, right? The interface is not physical anymore. So this is another one. But that's to make you think in this line of, okay, what people might be curious about and who will want to experience. We have the Oculus Rift, which is today's, right? It's like the Oculus Rift is like the stupid version of this, right? It's a thing that is heavy and it's controversial because I'm, for example, worried it might have health issues for that. People could get alienated in that world. That get alienated with the game Civilization, with something even more immersive. Okay, so this is another one to make us think. Sensors. If devices has more sensors, think of one market per sensors. It's one sensor is going to expand your superpower about that. Because you weren't designed about the angle of your whatever. Now you have it giving you feedback on the iPhone like nothing, without effort. So now you have the angle superpower. Okay? So every possible, the accelerometer, every possible sensor, you have ways to think about a new market for that, and probably startups. So if you are having that ideas, you need to connect it to reality. Okay, maybe I have ideas, but I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I'm sorry. No. Go and talk with people that could help you to bring that to reality. And there is that. We can talk about that. And this is what you need to know about the basics of investing in one slide. Seed, you can consider it the basic testing to keep risk very, very low. Like using some money, you are comfortable losing that experience, but maybe with your investors, right? Let's test and see what happens. If it goes well, we start something. Okay, angel investment. If it's started and it's working, then let's make it bigger. That's where VC can fit better. There are VCs that are mixed, but in general terms, that this is a basic. And if you can make something that fits this, you have something. You have to work on that to make that happen, because if you can achieve this with people, you have something. I will let you Google for this, but basically it's customer acquisition costs being lesser than or equal to 1/3 of long-term value of the customer paying you money for getting something. So here you have a reference to deep, a lot more technical on that. And the biggest challenge, I like to take a look at these things. This is a cultural study, and it measures by country. This is a guy from the Netherlands, an anthropologist, that studied how people is adverse to uncertainty. Because it's too new. I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay. How that is this a challenge for the innovator? You have to find ways to make them feel comfortable and safe, and show them it's a good business or a good movement or a good change. So let's see what problems and tools we have. How much time? Oh my God. Okay. Cognitive traps. The big opportunity, the mundane problems we already talked about. But I want to see if you can put your superpowers to work against these supervillains, because there are many. But we are going to talk about one and see tools that try to compensate that. Cognitive biases are like, how to say it, are like the anti-patterns of the Homo sapiens. You can think of that. In our terms, it will be like that. It's, what are our bugs? Okay? If you find them, I'm putting some information for reference there. You should work a little on them. This is a book I'm reading. It's fantastic. Every book from these guys is great. And it talks about how to make better choices in life and work. And it basically makes an anatomy of how we make decisions that suck and what we can do about that. And they found 4 billions, and they are all connected and reinforced to all the cognitive bias that I referenced in my favorite Wikipedia page that has 150. The billion number 1 is narrow framing, which is, should I do this or not? And that's a false dichotomy. You have more options. Life is greater than that. So that's why I'm so interested that Andres bring it up, because he had that insight working with the virtual machine down there, but he's finding the bug of the Homo sapiens. So it's super interesting. So and it's debugging. So let's debug ourselves in that. Narrow framing, I'm being like the horse, when it's only those options. No, make it bigger. And there are many tools to fight that. One is a Also, they call it multi-tracking, which is don't present one thing. If an agency presents one campaign for the client, there is too much ego involved. If the client always will want to say, they are not going to say yes without anything. They want to prove that, we have something to say about that and contribute, so we are going to say that you change the color. No. And so to fight that kind of things, which are problem between the psychology of the people involved in getting that done, that situation, you can use multi-tracking, which is do three things, and you present the three. The three are authentic, not false. And you explain what, and people is focused, instead of approving or not, is focused on the problem. So that's one thing. But there are many techniques, so it's highly recommended. There are other ones, like emotions of the short term. Like right now, the energy of the brain is influenced by the chemicals of that moment, but tomorrow it's not. So that also has problems. And overconfidence. Okay, so how much time? It's over? Okay, I will cut here. I have a couple of suggestions that are not going to be seen, but we can talk about that later. And one of the things I want to mention is to mention that I worked on one of the opportunities of that list, which is the front-end thing, bringing more power to the front-end thing. I don't want to have anything to be underpowered with all the things that are happening in the front-end on frameworks like Angular, Meteor or Angular, all the Angular friends, web components, and that kind of thing that make us more close to designers and good design, and keeping our productivity up like we are used to. It's a framework that is called Flow, and if I will have time, I will have shown you a demo, but I can't. So thank you very much. We can talk in the corridors about that.
Boris? Boris, you are next. I will show you.